Behind me is the Bear River Massacre site itself, and the plaque on the side of it, which was erected in the 1950s by the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers, makes a lot of excuses for the massacre that was perpetrated. They don't even call it a massacre, they call it a battle. And they say that it was a battle that was fought to essentially rid the population of hostile Indians who were committing attacks on the community of Franklin and incurring into Utah and committing all of these cattle raids. It's patently untrue, and the true story of it is Patrick E. Connor, who they kind of portray as a folk hero on the side of it, ordered his troops up just behind the camera through the confluence of the valley to attack this village of, it was just a village of Shoshone Indians. It wasn't a war camp, it was just a village. It had women and children. And yes, there were warriors inside the village, but they didn't stand much of a chance against a surprise attack. And Chief Sedgwick remarked that he saw them standing up on the hills here, breathing. He saw their breath rising in the morning sun, and he said that there was a fight coming. And a fight there was. They pushed up through here and they started attacking the village. And then after a moment, they said, let's retreat. And under the guise of a false surrender or a false retreat, they turned back once the villagers had let their guard down and completely massacred them. And General Connor also ordered his men up on top of the hills in two flanking movements so they could shoot down into the tents where the women and children were taking refuge. It's estimated that they killed about 400 people in this massacre before the general left. And most people ran off into the hills where they were also gunned down, much like Wounded Knee. And this is considered probably the worst massacre in American Indian War history, but it was overshadowed by the American Civil War, which was happening at the same time. This happened in 1863, and it happened on the 29th of January, which is actually 2 days ago today. So and surprisingly, there were few commemorations for it because it's kind of overshadowed by other massacres like Wounded Knee, because they were symbolic of reservations in the 1960s and 70s that were fighting against government encroachment once again. So this massacre behind me is truly one of the worst massacres to ever happen in the modern age to the American Indian people, at least all in one go. Of course, there was the Trail of Tears, but this was a fell swoop, an attempt to stamp out the way of life of the Shoshone people. And because the ground was frozen solid, and you can see the snow around me, they just, a quarter-mile down the road there, they have the Bear River, and they had a solemn ceremony where they just pushed the bodies into the river and let them float down. And I can't imagine a more sad sight.